Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, does anybody have any questions about any of that before we get rolling? No. Awesome.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you say you're going to email that form, or how do we find
No,
that
it's
form?
in the chat. So if you open up your chat, there's a link. You'll have to scroll back a couple of comments. I'll paste it in again so it's fresh right here. Hold on.
Okay.
Yep, and you should just be able to click that link from the comments and it should take you to the Google form.
Okay, thanks.
You bet. And to answer that question, you can do the link now. You'd have to copy paste it to a web page. You can do it now or after, doesn't matter to me. Just as long as it gets in, I'll probably upload the hours in the next like 24 hours. So you've got a minute to get that filled out. Okay, let's rock and roll. So I'm going to introduce myself. I don't know how many of you caught my last class that I did for you guys a couple of weeks ago, but I'm Chantel Wrights. I'm actually with Integrated Title Services. I've been with them just a little bit over 2 years now. When they first asked me to come work for them, they basically said, hey, we just want you to go take real estate agents to lunch and get them to do business with you. And I said, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. My background is actually marketing and advertising. And so after a couple of months of back and forth and negotiation, I consented to come over, but I said, if I will come over if you let me do things my way and do things on my terms. So I've taken all of my background that I have in marketing and advertising. I've worked for the Salt Lake Tribune, Deseret News, Utah Business Magazine, Hometown Values, as well as Utah Digital Services and Agency Number 6. And I've worked in broadcast media with Bonneville Communications, which is radio and TV. So I kind of have this broad range of marketing knowledge. And so I wanted to be able to use that and apply it for real estate and to teach agents how to actually grow their businesses and how to be successful in that endeavor. I also own my own business. I have a fitness studio in Sandy that I run. And so everything that I teach is things that I've actually done myself and implemented. And I understand the logistics of, especially in real estate, where you're wearing all the hats and you're responsible for growing your business in all the different ways. So you're the marketer, the janitor, all the things. So what I've done is created a series of classes that's designed to help you with marketing and branding. And the reason I've done that is, to me, that creates better relationships and better long-standing value add than just going to lunch or golfing. So that's the reason I've created the program I have. So at this point, I'm going to switch on and share my screen with you, and we'll go through some slides. So if you want to switch over to speaker view, if you're on your computer, you can hover your mouse up at the top and it should go from gallery view to speaker view. You can switch that over. If you're on your phone, you have to swipe all the way over to the left to see speaker view, just so you guys know how to find that. I will have an alarm going here in about 3 minutes that I have to screenshot our participation list here at the beginning of class. So I'll have to just kind of break there in a second, get that screenshot, and then we'll continue to roll. So I apologize when I have to break out with that. So I'm going to go ahead and get my screen share up right now. You'll first off see that awesome Google form, because that's where I was at in my thing. Let's see. And let's get into, all right, staying top of mind without annoying your audience. So that is where, if it'll load here, being very slow. There we go. Give me a thumbs up if everybody's got that now. You can see the slides. Yay, okay, fantastic. So this class is geared a lot around social media and how to utilize social media to your advantage while not making people crazy, right? Which is the line we all feel like we walk all the time. So a few things we're going to cover today. We're going to go over the 5 reasons that you could be hurting your business with social media, and then we'll go through, more importantly, how to fix it and do it correctly. So we'll talk about over-promoting your business, sharing irrelevant information, lack of engaging content. We'll talk about group messaging, and then all of the things on how to fix it. So we'll talk about the 80-20 rule, being a resource, creating engaging posts, getting people talking, being relative to your audience, and overall how to add more value. I do always throw in this little disclaimer here as a title producer, especially when we're talking about social media. You cannot pay me to like, share, comment on your posts. I cannot pay you to like, share, or comment on your posts, but I'm happy to do so. If you guys have things you want me to help you promote or just to get the word out, I'm happy to share them on my page or ITS's page. We're happy to comment on things, whatever you need. We just cannot exchange money to do so, okay? Now it is time for me to screenshot, so bear with me here. All right, I'm gonna take this, close it down for a minute. Sorry, I appreciate you guys being patient here while we do this. Ooh, there's a bunch of us on, 34, that's awesome. All right, I think we've got our last one here. Okay, so let us rock and roll for real. Okay, let me go back into my screen share and we are good. Okay, so let's talk about here. I think the biggest thing that we run into, especially when we're trying to grow our business, is we feel like some of us even stop posting in general because we feel like we're going to annoy the people that are following us. So we're going to talk a lot about how to not annoy your audience. Okay, over promoting your business is probably one of the most obnoxious faux pas on social media. And I love this little meme. I love that 99% of your posts are trying to sell me something, said no one ever, right? The biggest thing that we have to be careful of, nobody on social media wants to be sold. Social media is that, it's social. So everything that we post on there has got to be with the intention of creating engagement and being social. We're going to talk a lot about that as we go through. Here is your first keyword. So jot this one down. Nicolas Cage is your first keyword. So I love this too. No one cares about the stupid things people post on Facebook. No one wants to read pointless things, right? So we've got to be intentional about what we're putting out there. I love this, just a little bit of fun. 16 types of people on social media. The lurker never posts anything or comments, but reads everything. The hyena doesn't really ever say anything, just LOLs and LMAOs at everything. Mr. or Mrs. Popular has 4,367 friends for no reason. The gamer plays Candy Crush, Mafia Wars, Words with Friends, bakes virtual cakes, etc. The prophet, every post has a reference to God. The thief steals everyone's statuses, will probably steal this one next. The gym rat, every posts every day when they go to the gym, what they're doing at the gym, and how tired they feel after the gym. The collector never posts anything either, but joins every group and becomes fans of random stuff. The promoter always sends invitations to things you ultimately delete or ignore. The trump card has an insane opinion about everything and constantly makes it known. The hater, every post revolves around hating someone hating them, and they swear people are out there trying to ruin their lives. The anti-proofreader, this is like my arch nemesis. This person would greatly benefit from spell check, and sometimes you feel bad for them because you don't know if they're just typing fast or just stupid. The health nut posts every single meal with a plated photo. The news always updates you on what they're doing and who they're doing it with. And the rooster feels it's their job to tell Facebook good morning every day. So just a little bit of fun, just poking fun at some of our people on Facebook that we know, right? Okay, so our biggest mistake that we make when we're using social media is that we do not post engaging content. So if you don't keep your audience interacting with you, they will leave. And especially right now with Facebook's algorithms, the people that you interact with and that you comment on and they comment on you are the people that see you in their feed. So the more that you engage people with your content, the more people see you and the more people see you regularly, which is important. So making sure you have that engagement is key, and we'll talk a lot about that today. Group messaging. No one wants to be held captive in a group message or in Facebook groups, so don't add people without their permission. Make sure you get permission first. We've all been there in group messaging jail where we feel like you're held prisoner by all of that, so don't do that to people. They don't appreciate it. Facebook's newer updates with groups have been very beneficial because they ask your permission now if you want to join the group. Let's see. Am I using a green screen or use it a lot? I don't use a green screen, but I have it up on my back. So just for whatever, it just does it automatically for me. It's in your settings. Okay. All right, let's go on to, oh, I put that right in the wrong spot. Okay. So ultimately, we don't want to get followed or unblocked. How many of us out there have hidden people because they make us crazy? I absolutely have. I can't even say who I've hidden, some of my family members, because they make me crazy. They don't even have to unfriend you, but ultimately they will hide you. So just making sure that you are not making people nuts. So let's talk about how to fix it. Okay, personal page. So let's talk about your personal Facebook page here for a minute, or personal Instagram page. Either way, it doesn't matter. You want to keep your post to about 20% business and 80% needs to be personal. We talk about this a lot in the branding pages or branding class as well. People buy into who you are as a person, and you've got to be able to showcase that. Now, I think you can fudge that line of the 80-20 rule if you're posting things that come off as feeling personal, organic, but hint at what you do for a living, right? So a couple of fun things you might be able to do, you know, maybe if you're showing a house, you could highlight something in the house and talk about like, oh my gosh, I love this kitchen remodel. What would you do if you had, you know, if you were going to remodel your kitchen? Something to that effect where you are just reminding people in a more subtle manner of what you're doing versus just asking them to buy or sell with you. Business pages is a little bit different. Now you have to keep in mind, especially with Facebook's algorithm right now, is that you have to be mindful about making sure that whatever you post on there is engaging. Okay, so what that means is Facebook wants you to spend money with them. So what they're going to do is naturally diminish your organic reach on your business pages. How many of you have ever posted to your business page and felt like it reaches absolutely like 0 people? So whatever you post there, that is done intentionally because Facebook wants you to spend money in their advertising platform. So when you are posting to your business page, you have to be ultra focused on engagement and making sure whatever you post there is going to draw people in to comment or share or whatever that is. You have to be on ultra amount, because the more that people do, that's where your natural algorithms are going to increase. And I hope that makes sense. So just make sure that that's what you've got in mind. Now on your business pages, there's still an 80-20 rule, but you want to keep it about 20% promotion. That's where you're asking people to do business with you. The other 80% needs to be relevant, helpful, value add information. So make sure that whatever you're posting there, you're focusing on that engagement and how is it going to add value to your audience, if that makes sense. Does anyone have questions on that? I know that can be a little bit confusing. I'm not seeing anything.
Good. I do have a question. What do you mean promotion? You said 20% promotion. What does that mean exactly?
So that is where you're specifically asking people for business. So where you're saying, hey, if you are ready to list your house, I'd love to help you with the listing, or where you're actually asking people to do business with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
Okay,
does.
perfect.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. Can you explain, I've heard a little bit about business pages, and I'm just going to preface this by saying I know very little about social media. That's my disclaimer. Okay. But I've recently heard that instead of doing like a business page, it might be better to do like a group.
Absolutely.
And so are you going to get to that, or?
Yeah, well, we can talk about that now. So you still have to have a business page in general, and because if you don't, and if Facebook feels like you are using your personal page for business, they will actually shut you down. So you've got to have a business page to have it. But groups are great ways within even your business page. You can start groups from your business page or your personal page, but it's definitely something where you're going to get more engagement. They're going to see your things a little bit more. However, there's still, you still have to have people's permission for the group. Like you can add them and you can invite them into the group, but Facebook has now changed it so they have to accept and actually join. And so that's where you still may not get quite the engagement that you're hoping for. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
okay.
Thank you.
Cool, yeah, you bet. And also, yes, Amber did put a thing on here. You can't pay for ads without your business page. That's 100% true. You have to have a business page to run any kind of marketing ads on Facebook. So yes, 100%. So whether you're super active on there or not, you still need to have one. Even if you're not getting a ton of engagement, people going there, they use your Facebook business page almost like a website where they validate you, and they may find you on your personal page or on your Instagram, but they'll go to your Facebook business page to validate you as a company. And so it's important that even if you're not super active on there, that everything is filled out and you've got recent things, because how many of us have gone to a business page where they haven't posted in 2 years and you wonder if they're still even a company? So you've got to post enough and have enough on there that it's updated, that people realize you are still an active business, if that also makes sense. Okay. All right, let's kick into the next one. So let's talk a little bit about personal branding versus company branding. And this is where it gets a little bit murky in the waters as far as for real estate agents. Yeah, from Jen, will I cover the most important pieces of a Facebook business page to have on there? I absolutely can. Let me just make a little note of that, and we'll get into that too, because that is actually one of the things we covered in the branding class, but I'll do that as well. Facebook business. It's just in a different presentation, so I'll have to just back out of this one and get into there, but I will definitely cover that for you guys. Okay. So when you are branding, especially as a real estate agent, your brand, and so you as a company and you as a person, the waters are very mixed, right? So I'm a very big fan of you promoting yourself and creating a personal brand, even under the umbrella of a brokerage. You still have your own personal voice. Most people don't know what brokerage you work for, and they don't actually care for that matter, right? They're buying into you as a person. So it's really important that you have a very personal branding feel to everything that you do, even on your business pages and on your company pages, while you're backed by the company brand, if that makes sense. And we can get into that a little bit as well. But I use Richard Branson here because I think he's such a great example of someone that understands personal branding versus his company branding. And everything that he does is about him as a person, and then it comes in behind and backs his company. And people really know who he is even more so than they do a lot of his companies, which is really important. And a lot of famous people do that. So, all right, let's talk about here checking your competition. So I'm a big fan of letting other people make mistakes for us and seeing what works and what doesn't. So I'm not a big fan of copying people, but I am a big fan of seeing what other people are posting and what is getting engagements. And so you can see like which posts they have that get comments, likes, clicks, those kinds of things, so that you can see how to formulate your own things. Because some people are really great at telling stories and doing things, but you can see what's doing well in the industry, let other people make the mistakes or what's not doing well. And then you can formulate your own posts with your own branding that'll follow that, that formula. Let's see, Jen. You must have company logo or name on your business page or you will be fine. That's 100% true. It does have to be within one click. I recommend putting it on your cover photo. Let's just kick into that really fast. Let me get out of this and I'll just pull up this other presentation and we'll just go through that really fast so then we don't forget. So let me just scan here. All right. Internet's being super slow running all these things today. Let's see. Okay, here it is. So here is your Facebook business page. Okay, you guys got that okay? So a couple of things that I recommend. Now this is our integrated title services page, so it's going to be a little bit different. But this cover photo here is where you want to have as an agent. That's where you're going to want to have your brokerage logo and NMLS numbers and all that required stuff. I would just put it on the bottom right corner of this photo, whatever you have here on your cover photo, and that's where I would have that broker information. Now you'll see on the very left, your profile photo. Obviously we're a little bit different kind of company, but that's where you would want to have a photo of you for your business page. The next little section, you'll see this menu on the left. That is actually customizable. Most people don't know that you can change the order of those. You can turn things on and off. So if your business page is not super active, you for sure want to come in here, and how you get to this menu is if you go to your page settings and then you go to templates and tabs. That's going to allow you to rearrange the order of these things, and it'll actually allow you to turn them on and off as well. So the thing you want to make sure that you've got here is if there's something in this left-hand menu, you want to make sure that it is active. So if somebody clicks on something, it's not going to send them to a dead space. Like I think one of the defaults is job offerings, or there's a bunch of different ones. So if you're not posting jobs, turn that off, right? Because if people come and start clicking around in here, you want to make sure that everything's active. Otherwise, it looks like you're not maintaining your page. So you can rearrange those and turn them on and off. The other thing you want to make sure your business page has, you'll see over here on the right, is a way for them to contact you and make sure that you are able to get in touch with your people. So that is the way to make sure that your business page is set up correctly. We've got a question on here from Amber. Does a hashtag work? Any business post I put, whether meme, otherwise I put Presidio Real Estate. So hashtags work on Instagram. They do not really work on Facebook. It says they do, but it's way different than Instagram. So I don't even bother unless I'm posting straight from Instagram to Facebook and it copies my hashtags. I don't even worry about it. Oh, for legal purposes. I think, yes, that works, but you still have to have the NMLS number. Jennifer, if you want to maybe answer to that, that might be a little bit more in your wheelhouse. I don't know. I know for any advertising you do that it needs to be there within one click. So if you're having them click to your website, usually that will suffice. I don't know about on post, so Jen might need to answer that one there. Okay, I am going to back out of this and get back into our, oh, did I just close out my whole thing? Sorry. Let's see. Is it gonna go? My computer froze. There we go. Okay, let's get back into. Okay, so that's how I use my competitions web pages. And hopefully that helps you with the setup on your other page. So I think we covered all of that. Let's skip into here. Okay, so the biggest thing is when you are branding and marketing yourself, and especially on social media, you want to make sure that you are owning who you are as a person. Whether it doesn't matter how weird that is, whatever, people can sense when somebody's being fake. So it's really important that you just own who you are. Like I use this example. This is my cute cousin Allison. She is definitely original, one of a kind, and she just owns all of that and just does her own thing. And it's really important that that's the voice that you have on social media, because that's what's going to attract people to you. People can tell when you're trying to imitate somebody else. So it's okay to take for ideas and to see what's working, but you also want to make sure that you are doing it in a way that's authentic to you. So I hope that part makes sense there. All right. Okay, so here comes your keyword number 2, pumpkin spice. I love this. Don't be basic. So we don't want to copy everybody else. This is a lot more fun in the fall, but hey girl, let's get a pumpkin spice latte and talk about fall. Or brace yourself, pumpkin spice everything is coming. So there is your tip number or keyword number 2. So write that one down. All right, let's talk about a social. What's that?
I'm sorry. I didn't get what do we need to write down?
Oh, so we have to, in order for CE credit on this, there are keywords that we'll be giving throughout the class.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And when you click that Google link, it's going to ask you for keywords 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that was keyword number 2. So make sure when you fill it out that you've got that.
Got you. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Okay.
So what was the word again?
Pumpkin spice.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about marketing
I heard you
calendars.
say the first one. Could you just repeat the first one? Because I heard you say it, but I thought you were joking when you said write this down.
No, that was serious. Nicolas Cage was the first one.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No, that was legit. Good old Division of Real Estate. We're so happy for them. Okay. So let's talk about marketing calendars here. This is something I am a huge fan of. This is how I live my social media life, although I will be honest, like this quarantine thing, I'm like completely off of social media right now because it's making me crazy. But this is how I organize my posts, all the content that I want to share, all of that stuff. So what I do for myself is I have a content calendar. And I sit down on Sundays, I just block out like 2 hours and I sit down with my computer and I map out all of my content for the next like week or 2. And how I do that is by using social media calendars. And I actually will send whoever's on the list that's got their email in there, I will actually send you guys out a template after class that actually has, it's something I created that's got probably 5 or 6 different content calendars on there. So you can play with them and see what you like and then kind of adapt it for yourself. So what I'll do is send it out it's a Google Doc, so it'll be a view-only link. So in order to make changes, you'll have to make a copy of it. And then once you have a copy of it in your own drive, you'll be able to change whatever you need to. But content calendars are so helpful. And what it does, a couple of things that it allows me to do is, so I'm a big fan of, well, if you are one of those people that struggles with social media and you're barely going to post as it is, sometimes it's helpful to just post to Instagram and let it send to all of your different pages. But if you really want to be strategic about it, I think that it's beneficial for you to split things up. So anything that I post, maybe I'll post some I can use the same content, but I want to do it at a different time. So maybe I'll post it one day on Facebook and then 2 weeks later I'll put it onto Instagram. So I'm still using the same content, but I'm able to space it out a little bit so that it's not, so that if people are following me on different platforms, they're not seeing the exact same thing on every platform. That makes them want to disconnect or not see what I'm putting out there, right? So I like to space things out. Now, the caveat to that is if you have something that's time sensitive, so like if you have an open house or it's a listing, obviously you're not going to want to wait to push out information on a listing or an open house 2 weeks later. You want it out there right now. So when you're doing something like that, it's okay to use the same post, but just change the photo on the different platforms. So whatever photo you've got on Facebook is different than Instagram, and that way people are more likely to engage with it because it looks like fresh content on both pages. Does that make sense? I hope. Okay, I can't get my, bear with me for 1 second. I'm gonna stop share and come back into this because I can't get the chat to stay up, which is making me crazy.
While you're doing that, can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
So you talked about the ratios, the 80-20
Yes.
for both, and looking at your marketing calendar, it talked about, like, for instance, on Facebook, it says links, you want to post a couple each week. Now that can be either the 80 or the 20%, right? It can,
Right.
it's just a random link.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So that way it just helps you. And actually, let me share, before we get back into, I'm going to go back into that share screen and hopefully I can get my chat back. There it is. Okay. I'm going to block out of here. I wonder if it's going behind my screen because it's when I'm hitting escape. Okay. I'm going to go into my drive here and I'm actually going to pull up the one that I typically share with you guys so I can show you just how I've set it up. There it is. Okay, so here's one of them. So this is one I've done that has like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Obviously, I actually don't do a whole lot with Twitter. This was one I set up for somebody, but I would change that to Google My Business, and we'll do that in another class. But if you're going to post every day, like this would tell you, okay, here's the platform I'm going to post to. This is the time. This is what type of content I'm going to do, what the topic is, whatever I'm going to say in my ad copy, whatever links I have, and then notes. And I just map this out so that on Sunday, I just come and make my plan for the whole week. And I have everything here. So when it's time for me to post, then I can just come in and copy paste, or I can schedule it or whatever. And it works out really well. So you'll see I've got several different types in here. So you can just see what works best. And I'll make sure that you guys get those, which will be great. Let's see, we've got a couple chats here. I struggle knowing which page I'm sharing when I'm on my phone. Yeah, so are you meaning, Lisa, to answer your question, are you meaning on Facebook, or if you're posting to your like business page versus personal page? You might clarify that for me so I can answer that too. And then let me scroll up. Do you discourage posting the same post on Instagram and then having it auto-populate to Facebook? So I do, in the fact that if people are following you on multiple platforms, people get kind of bored with that, and so you want to make sure it's different on both things. However, if you are like, I can barely get social media done in the first place, then absolutely do it, because it's better to do that than do nothing. So hopefully that helps. How important is it to have all these social media platforms if you're just getting started? Baby steps, what do you recommend first? Okay, so social media, I'm really a big fan of, you need to be where your audience is and who your target audience is. So knowing who you're trying to reach is important. If my target demographic is people like 45 to 55, I'm going to want to be on Facebook. If I'm skewing younger, then Instagram is going to be something. So baby steps, I would pick 1 or 2 platforms where your audience is and then be there. LinkedIn, I think, is one that everybody should use because it's not something you have to do as often. And personally, I think people that have jobs are on LinkedIn, and that's the people that are buying and selling homes. So it makes sense to me. They're professionals. And then Google My Business is also something you want to add in. So those 2 we'll talk about need to be regular. And then you can pick 1 or 2 others that you want to be active on based on the demographics you're trying to reach. Okay, Lisa said, yes, I have stuff I want to share on my personal page, but not to business. So I do, I run all of my personal things on my personal Facebook. I also use the Pages Manager app. Let me open it up. It's like a little flag. Hang on, I'm just getting my phone out here. I don't know if it's going to show with my green screen on, but it is, oh, let me see if I can get it up there. Oh, it's disappearing. Can you see that little flag app in there? It's called Facebook Page, and it's specifically designed to run your business page. So that's how I keep mine separate, so I know what I'm doing. So hopefully that answers your question, Lisa. Have I ever tried TikTok? I wonder if it actually helps. So I think TikTok is a new upcoming one that can be really fun, and I think you can do some fun things with it, but I don't think it needs to be necessarily a primary focus. But it's definitely a place to be that not a lot of people are, which is a great advantage because not a ton of people are doing that. So again, it's just that finesse of doing something fun that you could tie in and bring real estate into on a regular basis. So hopefully that answers your question there. Okay. All right, let's kick back into this main one here. Yay, okay, and we kept our chat and everything good. Okay, yay. Okay, let's talk a little bit about scheduling apps. So there's a couple of things like Later, I'm sure you've heard of Later or CoSchedule. Those things can help you map out and schedule your content so it'll post it for you. A lot of them, though, you have to really be careful. Later's a great one because they're actually partnered with Facebook and Instagram. So in theory, that does not diminish your organic algorithms. Now, if you use something else, like I'm sure you've seen like Hootsuite, CoSchedule, there's a bunch of them out there that will post for you. The benefit of those is that you don't actually have to take the time to post, but Facebook and Instagram know when you're using a third party to post your content, and so it naturally lowers your organic algorithm. So I'm not a fan of using those, but Later is the one that's supposed to work with those and not diminish your algorithms. So if you need one, that's a great one. There's a free version. I think the paid version is only like 10 or 12 bucks a month or something. It's not that bad. So if you want to do a scheduler and then you don't have to worry about it and everything just schedules for you, then that is a great way to go. So hopefully that helps there. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what you're posting. Photos are going to do better for you than text-only things. So people naturally will gravitate to photos. Images help. Just people want to engage with it more. They want to see what things are about. Visual content is a lot more likely to be shared than other types of content. On Instagram, there in your settings, you can actually start to play around with it. If you have a business Instagram account, you can actually go in and look at your insights and start looking at what posts are doing better than others, and it'll actually show that to you. So check that out and make sure that your posts are, like, you can start to see correlations between your posts that do really well and posts that don't. And I've actually tested this out too. Photos definitely do better than plain text. How much time do I allot for posting and connecting each day with social media? So I try to do, once I have everything scheduled, minus some things that are kind of on the fly. Obviously, if I'm going to an event or something that's active that week, I might do like a live video, things like that I'll allocate more time for. But really, once I get it all mapped out outside of that 2 hours on Sunday, I try to do about 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon where I'm actually on and committed to engaging with other people so that I can get them following my page and making sure they're seeing my stuff. So really like 20, 30 minutes a day is all you need. The birthdays is a great way to do that. When you see people's birthdays pop up on your Facebook, just taking a minute. I always make sure I go in and the people that I want seeing my stuff, I make sure I put a birthday post on there and comment on their pages so that it creates that connection so Facebook will show me their things. So hopefully, Donnelly, that answers that question for you. I try not to get too swallowed up in social media. I think it's one of those things that if you're not careful can really take over your entire life and you wind up wasting hours without realizing what you did. So I try to be pretty intentional about it, try to get on and off really just 2 to 3 times a day and be fast about it. So let's see. Does posting happy birthday message, does that help your numbers? What it does is it increases the amount of people that will see, let's see, image. It increases if people see your posts and if you see their posts. So I'm trying to be strategic about it. I have a lot of people that follow me that I don't know well. So I usually don't worry about those, but the people that I do want to engage with that do follow me, I try to make sure I'm doing something with them. Because what it does is it just means that they'll see you more in their feed and you see them more in your feed. So that's the reason behind it.
Sorry. Can I just ask a quick question? So what I meant by the image is, you know how there's little memes that you can post?
Oh,
would
right.
that increase your numbers if you're posting something like that for a happy birthday instead of just texting happy birthday?
Right. So for me, I think it's an easier way for me if I just go in and I can kind of paste that same thing in more often. The thing that's good about using an image is it's a little bit different than other people. So they're more likely to respond with like a thank you or, you know, some sort of reaction with it versus just a like. And so that helps. The more interaction you can get back and forth actually helps you with that connection, if that makes sense. Isn't there a 4-word rule with Facebook algorithms? Oh, okay, I see what you mean. The 5-word plus comments, yes. So it's really, so I wasn't sure what you meant by that, but yes, that is true. So the more you can get back and forth, and when you reply with a response of like, if you just say thank you or post an emoji, that doesn't rank very well. So the more words you can put in a reply or a post is where Facebook is looking for engagement and content, and to them, you're putting more thought into the more words you put into it, there's more thought put into it. And so that does boost your algorithms. Does that answer your question of what you were, Amber and Jen, that you were saying? Yeah. Yeah, 5-word plus comments Facebook sees as valuable. Yes, that is absolutely true. So if you do post the image, you want to put something with it, but it's really to draw them in for the comments. So if they respond back with a thank you, like you can we'll talk about that a little bit, how to be in control of the conversation in a few slides, but I think you'll start to see how that works in a minute. Okay, all right, let's go into here. When you're posting images, and this is where we kind of get a little bit of, I think, social media anxiety because we don't like to see our own face on things, but people are naturally drawn to faces. Even as you think about this as babies, we are naturally in the zone for, like, the first thing we see is our mom or our dad's face, like in our face, and we are programmed to react with faces. So naturally, the more people you have in your photos, the better you're going to get for engagement. So making sure that you are putting yourself in photos, or your family or whatever. Pets is another great one. People love seeing pets. So if you can use your pets in photos, but making sure you've got some face in a photo for people to engage with, you're going to perform better than just solid images. And while they're beautiful, we're not as naturally drawn to them. So just make sure you've got your face more in photos than what you're doing right now, because I can guarantee you most of us do not have our face in enough photos on our feed. Okay, now It needs to be your face a lot of the time. People don't know your kids, 100% true. It does need to be your face. That's why I say you've got to get over that fear of having your face on your social media. You've got to get out there. People are buying into you as a person, not necessarily to any of those other, like to a kitchen photo, right? So you've got to make sure your face is on there. If you are stumped and you've got a great post, but you don't have a photo to use, you can get high quality stock photography out there. There's tons of free stuff out there. Just make sure you are not Google searching for random images because they are subject to copyrights. You can get fined. And it does happen. I actually have a good friend of mine that owns a health insurance company, and she happened to do a post on her website that linked another post that she was talking, like, so she linked an article and gave her feedback on this article. And because the original poster, she used the photo from their article on her site, she actually got fined. They wanted to fine her like $2,500, but she was able to talk them down to, I think, $750. So just be aware, it does happen. So here's a list of sites that have free stock images. Canva has tons. Pixabay, Unsplash, StockPic. Pexels is one of my favorite. I think it's a really easy, user-friendly. And one that's not on here that I actually am kind of obsessed with, that has a bunch of like funky random photos that are funny, just because that's me, is Gratisography, which I think is super fun. So there's tons of places that you can get free, high quality images. Just don't just Google things and use those images, because you can get fined. So make sure they're copyright free. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about content here. So the biggest thing for you is for you to be a resource. So you need to be the go-to for anyone that needs a referral for anything. This is going to give you things that you can post, and it'll give you content ideas without coming across as being pushy. Like, this is a great way for you to focus on real estate without saying like, hey, buy a house or sell a house with me, right? And as a realtor, I think this is absolutely 100% necessary anyway. You've got to have a network of people that you trust in your back pocket that you can be a go-to for anyone. And being a realtor really is being a connector. So you are out there connecting people and professions and things all over the place, and that's our job anyway. So let people know that that's what you do, and if people know they can come to you for a referral for anything, you're staying top of mind no matter what they need. So if they need an electrician, if they need a plumber, if they need a landscaper, and you have great contacts that do a fantastic job at your disposal, it makes you look good when you give out a great referral that does great work. But also they keep coming to you for other things. So it keeps you top of mind without you having to remind people of what you do all the time. And then, so another way you can do this is sharing the love. If you do business with somebody, like, tag their business, talk about why you admire them, right? It's a great way for you to showcase what you do without coming across as being obtrusive or pushy. If I'm doing a post that says, oh my gosh, you guys, my client used this plumber, he did such an amazing job, I highly recommend him, thank you so much for helping my clients out. Like, that's not obtrusive to anybody, and it's not coming off as pushy. But not only that, you're helping another small business out. So if it comes down that plumber maybe gets a referral for somebody looking for a realtor, you're the one that they're going to refer. So it works in a full circle. So that's definitely something that you want to do, is put yourself in that position of being a connector and having a great network. Oh, I'm sorry, Amy, it says that it cut out. What was the name of the site that I like? Pexels. It's P-E-X-E-L-S. And then the other one that's new that I love that's funky is called Gratisography. So I'll just type those in the chat here so you've got those. Okay, sorry about that. Thanks for letting me know it cut out. Okay, let's come along. Another way you can be a resource is using tips, tips and tricks, how-tos, DIYs, like any of these things that will add value to your audience and keep them coming back. So make sure that you just kind of add that into your list of things you're posting. Like a little one you could do here is like, you know, how many of your clients know how to actually compare different types of flooring? If they're getting bids for carpet versus hardwood or tile, do they know how to convert from square feet to square yards so that they know they're getting the same pricing for, you know, they can compare pricing. Just different things like that that you can do that are value adds are great things to be a resource. Now, let's talk about engagement. I know I've hit home on this like several times. And engagement is really the biggest key with social media. So this is where that 5-word rule that Jen was talking about, all of those things come into play through engagement. So social media is called social media for the reason that it is social. So what those algorithms are looking for is conversation, and people, they will reward you for keeping people on their platforms. So if you are able to put things out there that keep people on, they reward you for that. So you want to be very, very intentional about what you're putting out so that you make sure that you're putting out content that's going to create those engagements. So that'll help you generate leads, it helps you build your online presence, and it helps you stay top of mind because you're in people's feed more often. So making sure that everything we do is intentionally geared towards engagement. Okay, so let's talk about video. So video is kind of the hot button right now, but I think some of us tend to post video just to say we posted it, but we're not intentional about it. And I mean, one of the stats is 100 million hours or more of video are watched on social media every day. And so that's something we want to take a part of, but it doesn't help us if we're posting irrelevant videos or meaningless videos. You can't just post to post. So on the right, you'll see this little list of some different ideas you can have for videos on social media. How-tos are great. Anything entertainment related is great. Behind the scenes, awesome. Culture, like if you guys as Presidio agents are doing anything like community-wise or even as like agent relationship building, like any of those things that showcase your company culture are fantastic. Shout outs for other businesses, great. Events, demonstrations, you can do interviews, and even customer testimonials. So with the testimonials, obviously you don't want to have other people on video like giving you a testimonial, that's weird. But you could say like maybe you got a review on Google that you want to talk about, and you can highlight like, hey, I'm so excited about this review I just got, like this is awesome. Yes, Jennifer just said client appreciation events. Those are perfect, like perfect opportunities for videos. Now, let's talk about video length because this is a little bit of a weird thing. Video length, the best length for videos is like 1.5 minutes to 2.5 minutes. But you have to remember that people have less of an attention span than goldfish right now. So whatever you're doing in your video, you've got to be able to draw them in your first 7 seconds. So what that means is you've got to plan what you're putting in your videos. You can't just randomly, oh, I'm going to do a video and just rock and roll with it. Is that for pre-recorded video or lives too? Let me talk about lives in just a minute. So yes, Jen, you're correct there. So I'm talking about pre-recorded videos that are just going out in a post. I'll talk about lives in 1 second. So whatever you put out in that first 7 seconds has got to be impactful. Same length for YouTube. No, YouTube's a whole different ballgame. This is really just for Facebook or Instagram. Now, Instagram only allows you for your post to go up to 1 minute. So if it goes over 1 minute, you'll have to use Instagram TV and post through there, which is totally fine. Let's talk about live videos for a second. Now, to touch on what Jen was saying, live videos are different, especially on Facebook. So I'm sure you guys have seen, you'll get a notification, so-and-so is live right now. And so what Facebook is doing is trying to recruit people to your video. So you've got to be able to stretch it out. If you can get 15, 20 minutes in a video, that's perfect. Let me tell you a couple of little key things that'll allow you to do that. That there's not a lot of people that can go unscripted for 15, 20 minutes. So you've got to plan out what you're going to say, at least in bullet point fashion, okay? It helps to have multiple people in your video, at least someone else, because it's easier to carry on a back and forth conversation than it is for you to just sit and talk for 15 to 20 minutes. So make sure that you've got it planned out. Now, what I like to do for live videos is I like to do giveaways associated with them because it gives me a reason to bring people in and entice them to stay for the whole video. So I can talk about, hey, you know, if you're coming on, we're gonna do a giveaway at the end of the video. Make sure you put in your comments, make sure you put in your likes, and we're gonna draw for this, I don't know, Amazon Echo, just whatever it is that you're doing. And we're doing that at the end of the video. And periodically throughout that live video, tease them with that drawing so that they're likely to stay tuned in and to continue with the content. And also, in order to keep somebody tuned in for that whole time, whatever you're putting out there has got to be valuable information. So please, please, please pre-plan and at least do some sort of storyboarding for what you're going to do in your live video so that you can continue to go out. If you do 1.5 to 2.5 minute live video, you'll probably get like 3 people watching. It doesn't give Facebook and Instagram enough time to get people tuned in. Does that make sense and answer the questions? Any questions on that?
Your last point, did you say do for live video over 1.5 minutes? Is that what you just said?
Absolutely. Live has got to be 15 to 20 minutes. If you do a live video and it's shorter, that 1 to 2.5 minute mark, no one's going to join it. So it just doesn't give them enough time to recruit people to watch your video. So I would recommend 15 to 20 minutes on a live. Okay. Any other questions on that? Awesome. Okay. Oh, here we go from Donnelly. Is video live can be personal or should you do business? It doesn't matter as long as it's value. Exactly. It does not matter as long as you're adding value. If you are going live and you're doing a giveaway, to me, it makes more sense to have something business related. And I like to find people I can partner up with that I can talk about. Like one thing you could do if you're farming an area, I don't know how many of you farm like local communities or put yourself out as a community expert in a certain area. Obviously right now this is not really doable, but I love interviewing local restaurant owners and talking about like my favorite restaurants and maybe doing a giveaway to this local place with a discount or something, and maybe partner up and maybe you're giving away a free dinner to whatever. Things like that that you can highlight in your local community are great. And that does a couple of things for you. A, it puts you out as truly a community leader in that area. And B, it shows that you're promoting and supporting local businesses. C, if you do support a local business and then when they have a referral for a real estate agent, they're likely to refer you. So and it gives you content without coming across as like super pushy on sales, if that makes sense. You recommend lives from biz or personal page. You can do, what I'll usually do is film it live from one or the other. I think it depends on what the content is as to which one you'd want to put it on. Save it when you're done and then post it to the other one. So there are things you can do that'll stream live to multiple platforms at once, but it takes different software and things like that that you can do that'll multi-stream. And usually there's expense tied into that unless somebody knows something I don't know. Usually there's an expense added to that. And so what I'll recommend for people to do is to film it on one or the other, save the video, and then post it to the other page, if that makes sense. And then, okay, I think we covered all of that. Any other questions? Okay. All right. All right, so let's talk about Facebook 360. You can also do the 3D photos. I don't know how many of you have seen those, but they're pretty easy, pretty user-friendly. When you're doing a post on Facebook, it's really easy. I'm sure you've seen these 360 photos where you can just kind of take your phone and like move it around and see the whole panorama of everything. Those are a great way to get just a little bit more interaction, and it holds people to your post a little bit longer. So they just want to like, it's just kind of fun to check out. So it's a fun little thing you can do that just kind of keeps people on your post for a little bit longer, which is great. Amber said you could do a story which would do both Insta and Facebook. Yes, that is true. You can put it in a story and share it across to both, which is great. So how you get into this Facebook 360 is when you're doing a post and you get in to do the post, basically there's a little drop-down menu that you can click that will show you a list, and in there it'll say 360, or you can do 3D photo. 3D photo works when you use the portrait mode on your camera. That's how the 3D image pulls from and works. So if you have taken a photo with that portrait mode, when you select 3D, that's how it'll pull up. So you can do that. And it's just a little extra something or other. With the 360, it used to be that you had to have a separate camera attachment for your phone, but Facebook has it built in now so that when you select it, you basically just take your phone and start filling in all the blanks around where you're at so that it opens it up and people can do that, which is just kind of fun. Okay, so asking questions is a great way for you to get engagement on your posts. So being intentional about it. People love to give their opinions on social media, so let them. And if somebody interacts with one of your posts, you've got to be intentional about how you're responding. So this is where that 5 comment thing comes in. You've got to be able to go back and forth, right? So if, like, let's say you're doing something like, hey, which paint color do you like best, A or B, right? And if people are commenting A, B, whatever, you could leave it at that. Or you could probe them a little bit more and say, why do you like A better? Or maybe why did you not like B, right? And just get them to respond again, because the more you can create that back and forth conversation, the more comments you get, the longer the responses are, the more that is going to boost your natural algorithms. So just making sure that you're intentional about what you're posting. I was working with an agent, I don't know, a couple months ago. Anyway, she had done a post where she said, she had shown me and said, hey, what could I have done to make this more engageable? Based on the conversation we were having. And her post was something where she had taken a photo of a couple of her kids with her open house signs. And just her post was basically like, oh, look at my cute kids at my open house. And if it was me, I would have changed that around and maybe asked the question, like, how many of you own businesses and involve your children in your business? And what are some things you do to involve your children in your business? And doing something like that is going to promote more response than just, oh, look at my cute kids. And you might get a few likes and then a couple comments, oh, your daughter's adorable, something like that. So you want to ask questions that are going to get people responding. So just think about, put yourself in your social media shoes, and when you're responding to people or talking to people on social media, what are the things that you tend to respond to or to engage with? And so just start to pay attention to that and be very intentional about what you're putting out so that you can get that engagement. Another one you can do is sparking discussions, right? Like, I love this one. My biggest, fill in the blank, my biggest complaint with my home is what? Like, this is a great one you can do to even generate a leads list. If people are like, oh, I hate my kitchen, if I had 50 grand, I'd do this or whatever, you can actually get conversation going and try to work them through a sales funnel, right? Like, you're working them through that process. If you get somebody to say, oh, I hate my kitchen, and you're like, hey, have you checked out this new builder down the road? They do amazing, we could sell your house and get you into this for, with interest rates right now, it might be even less, like who knows, right? But just use it as a way to bring people into the conversation and work them through a sales funnel. And the way you do that is that back and forth and just create conversations with people. And just be, just have fun with it. Like if you had $10,000 to remodel something in your house, what would you do? Or if you could live anywhere in the world, where would you go, right? Like those kinds of things, like allow people to engage with you and focus on starting discussions. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's talk a little bit about Instagram. Instagram is, grabbing a sip of my weird water bottle that'll come in and out. Instagram is a fun one. So I'm gonna go through a few of my favorite tricks and tips here. Let's talk, and because we did it for Facebook, let's do it for Instagram too, it'll be fun. 16 types of people on Instagram. The over poster, they post 15 times a day and usually do 6 different photos of the same event. We'll talk about that in a minute too, using Instagram's carousel feature. The foodie, from aesthetically perfect waffles to latte art coffees, they always make you hungry. The hashtagger. So here is your keyword number 3. The hashtagger is keyword number 3. Write it down, write it down. Post ridiculous hashtags that are so long it takes you 5 minutes to decipher. The narcissist, post nothing but selfies to see here, folks. Sometimes you wonder if they actually have any friends or if they're just that in love with themselves. The ghost, they made their account years ago, like all of your posts, but their page is empty. The show off, fancy cars, expensive jewelry. Let's see, the sound cut out. Of course it cut out on the keyword number 3. Okay, keyword number 3 is the hashtagger. I'll put it in here. Seems to always cut out in my important parts. Gotta love it. All right. The inspirational quoter. This person focuses less on the photos and more on the captions they so carefully pick out to inspire their followers and bring tears to their eyes. The Greek lifer. Kegs, funnels, Saturdays are for the boys signs, and sorority squats are the basis of this person's account, even though they are 37. The celeb, that one person from high school that gained thousands of followers and is practically insta-famous, leaving you always wondering why and how they got there. The duck, seriously, didn't your mom tell you if you make that face too often, it'll stay that way? The licker, is the tongue sticking out the new duck lips? The makeup addict, post all the tutorials we attempt and wind up looking like a hot mess. The Where's Waldo, this person travels to an uncanny number of exotic places. The basic bee, Starbucks cups, beach pictures, mirror selfies, and fake candids, you name it. The stoner, the only thing you find this person posting is their stash, their bowl, and their bong. Or the finsta, aka fake Insta, endless photo videos, blurry pictures, and less than prime selfies are a nice break from all the over-posted or over-edited stuff you're used to seeing. All right, so just for fun. Okay, let's talk about hashtags. So hashtags are something that is pretty unique to Instagram. Instagram and Twitter really, but they're very popular and they really help you to engage or increase your engagement rate. So hashtags help you find relevant content and allow you to connect with other users. So being really selective about what you're doing with your hashtags is very important. I just research mine and I keep them. Let me see if I can pull up for you in my phone really fast. I keep a list in my phone of all my hashtags. I'm just scrolling through to find my notes section with my hashtags. And once I have them set and what I've figured out I want, I just have them in my phone and I have them categorized. So I'm gonna see if this will, kind of, but you can see I just have different categories and a bunch of different hashtags. So I just keep them in my notes based on what I'm topics. So obviously I have a fitness studio. So some of my topics are like healthy eating. They have to do with different types of workouts. Like I've got yoga, inspirational quotes, like a whole bunch of different things. So keeping them in your phone is a great way to go. And then that way you can just copy and paste. What hashtags do in Instagram is you're able to follow hashtags. So if you're following a hashtag, even if you're not following that particular person, you will still see their posts in your feed because you're following that hashtag, and then it opens up the opportunity for them to check you out and maybe follow you. Do I post fitness on the same accounts? With multiple interest business dilute your message? So I have separate accounts for my stuff because I have a brick and mortar location, and my fitness stuff is a little bit, let me think how to explain this the best way. So my personal page is kind of a mix of all the things that I do, but I have separate business pages. Like ITS Title obviously has a separate business page, and I have a separate business page for my fitness studio. My personal page tends to be more of a mix because that's who I am as a person. I do all of these things. Let's see, do you only hashtag related to your post? For example, are you posting about your title company, but do you still post a fitness hashtag? Heck no. So like my ITS Title, I have separate hashtags for title. And I have a separate note for them. So I have categories within title. Like sometimes we'll post about escrow, sometimes we'll post about lending, sometimes we post about real estate agents. So it depends on what we're posting, and I just take the relevant hashtags and use those. Does that answer that question? Do I hashtag, Steve, do I hashtag about being Mrs. America? So thanks a lot, Steve rats me out. So I'm actually Mrs. Premier World, so I have an international pageant title. That's what Steve's talking about there. So my Instagram page, I actually do have separate hashtags for Mrs. Premier World, and I do hashtag about my platform and things like that. But it's another category. Thanks a lot. So hopefully that answers some of your questions about hashtags. You want to keep them very concise. You want to make them relevant and conversational. Don't use spaces or punctuation marks. The second you throw an apostrophe into something, it kills your hashtag. So like one of the hashtags I use a lot on is don't be a Richard. And if I use an apostrophe in don't, that would kill it, and it would be hashtag Dawn. Does that make sense? So you have to, yeah, I'll talk about capital letters in 1 second, Donnelly. So you have to be able to take the apostrophe out or spell out the word. And capital letters, I think, to answer this, Donnelly, if this is what you mean, I do use capital letters at the first of each word so that it helps people decipher what the hashtag is, especially if it's going to be long at all. It just helps people to figure out what you're saying. So I do use capital letters. They don't kill the hashtag. They don't do anything that direction. So you should be okay. Punctuation, or if you put a space between your words, that is what will kill the hashtag. Don't use too many hashtags in one post. Instagram, and we'll talk about this on the next page here. Instagram allows you 30 hashtags. I've been doing a little bit of research on this, and I found that 30, it really kind of kills off the effectiveness if you have too many. So I found the sweet spot to be like 10 to 15 max. You don't want to really go over that. And I also believe that you need to have branded hashtags. So make sure you're creating your own branded hashtags. So that would be like the one somebody threw out earlier, Presidio Real Estate. I recommend you use those because it helps to increase your brand awareness and give you credibility. So hopefully that helps. The other question I get all the time is if you should add them to the post itself or into the comments. It really doesn't matter. It used to be that people were adding them to the comments because it made it look like there was comments on the post, and they thought it would boost their algorithms, but it's not necessarily the case. But it doesn't hurt you either. It used to be for a while they took them off and those wouldn't help you. They wouldn't function correctly if they were in the comment, but now it pretty much works either way, and it's totally up to you. It can be a courtesy if you don't want to, if they're all branded hashtags and they're not necessarily relevant to the post, I usually will either space them down or put them in the comments, just because it gives my followers a clue that they don't need to read that part. Like, it just kind of allows them to read what they need and takes it out. Does anybody have any hashtag questions? Any others? Did we cover everything? Okay, all right. Let us move on. Let's see how we're doing on time here. Okay, we're good. All right. Oh wait, now we have I heard that you should mix it up a little bit so they don't link back to nasty things. Is this true? Like, beautiful ladies should be different. Okay, so Crystal had asked a question that's actually something that is called shadow banning. So when hashtags, I like to find hashtags that have a use of usually about 40,000 to about 400, 500,000. Once they start getting overused and you see people that have like uses in the millions and things like that, what happens is, unfortunately, is people will start to use hashtags and attach pornographic images to those hashtags. And so then Instagram does what is called shadow banning. And what that means is that anybody that uses that hashtag, it kind of, it puts like a temporary ban on your page. And so you'll notice your algorithms and your engagements really drop. There's not really a way for you to know if that's happened, and it's not like a spoken of thing. It just kind of happens. So to avoid it, I try to find hashtags in that 40 to 400,000 mark, because they're trending enough that people are using them, but they're not overused to the point where you might get shadow banned for something like that. What is a good length for a hashtag? Good length for a hashtag, it's really depending. I try not to make them too long. I have a lot of friends that'll do it just to be funny, which is fine. But if you're going to make it long, make sure you're throwing that capital letter at the first of each word so people can read it. But I try not to make it more than like 2 or 3 words, just to keep it very short and concise. You can use emojis. They didn't used to work. It used to kill them off, but now I believe they work, and you can hashtag with emojis if you want. To me, it convolutes it and it ruins the effectiveness, because somebody's going to have to search for that hashtag with that exact emoji, and I don't think they're as effective. So I hope that helps, hopefully. Okay, let's talk about influencers. Influencers are a big deal on Instagram. It's kind of like the whole platform of Instagram. Big influencers can be really hard to work with and hard to get somebody to, and they to want to work with you, but also they can charge thousands of dollars for a single post. It's kind of crazy. So I really like to work with micro influencers. So I try to find people within the community that are well respected, that we share the same demographics, that we can partner up and do something collaborative instead of thinking about competition. And usually I look for the win-win situations, right? So for me, if I'm talking about my fitness studio, if my target demographic is women like 35 to 55 that have money to spend, that take care of themselves, like for me, a natural collaboration would be like a hairdresser or a spa or something, to where we're going after the same people. So knowing who your target demographic is really key here for you to be able to figure out what influencers you might want to work with. Thinking about things that you can think about, things that are natural to the real estate industry, like, you know, some of your trades, or, you know, the electricians, the plumbers, those kinds of things. Or you could even just go totally outside that box. Like, if you are thinking that your target demographic is maybe people transitioning to senior living, maybe you'd want to partner up with some assisted living centers or memory care centers and do some things that way, that where you could both target the same people. I hope that makes sense. But just figuring out how to work with people. And then if you want to get someone's attention and start working with them, and you see somebody awesome, tag them, share their stuff, comment on their things, give them credit for things, those kinds of things. The more you engage with somebody on social media, the more that you're going to be able to create that relationship. Does anybody have questions on any of that? I'll give it a second here. No? Okay, cool. Okay, let's scooch along then. Okay, so consistent imaging is a huge thing for Instagram. You want to make sure that your lighting is the same, the coloring's the same. Instagram is geared towards being a very visual platform. And so the best profiles are the ones that you'll see that all of their images kind of have the same look and feel. So I have a couple of tricks that I do with this. I'm a really big fan of using the app Lightroom. It is an Adobe product. The app on your phone is free, and the free version is amazing. But you can go in and tune your photos. I'm not great at taking consistent images, right? If I'm all over the place and I'm inside, outside, whatever, sometimes my photos are yellow, sometimes they're blue. Like, I can fix all of that in Lightroom very, very easily. So that is how people get that consistent imaging and their photos look similar. So just make sure that you download that app. It's really easy to use and I love it. Okay, let's see. Donnelly said, is it weird or less effective if your influencer you connect with happens to be your kid, be a kid like a hairdresser, big on social media? Please spell it. Oh, okay. So I don't think it's weird at all, as long as who it is makes sense for you and your business. Like, I'm not going to necessarily, for my fitness studio that targets women, I'm not going to necessarily go and try to partner up with somebody that their main focus is like men, because it doesn't make sense for me. Does that answer that question, Donnelly? I hope so. And I will spell Lightroom. I'm assuming that's what you're asking. Lightroom by Adobe. Yeah, so hopefully, Donnelly, that answers your question if you want to just respond back in. Okay. Okay, let's talk about Instagram stories. So stories are a really fun way for you to engage with people. Let's see, well, more that it's a family member also. No, that doesn't matter, you're fine. So stories are a great way for you to engage with people, and being able to put the content out there that's a little bit less structured. It doesn't have to be anything that's like super edited, like, you can be a little bit more raw and authentic. So it's a great place to be. And I don't know how many of you watch stories on Instagram or get into that at all. I think the current stats are like 45% of Instagram users do stories, which doesn't seem like a huge number, but the people that are on there are super, super involved. So like, people will get on stories and you can sit in there for hours just clicking through and swiping through people's stuff, which is great. How stories work for those that are less Instagram savvy, when you post something to your stories, it is on your stories for 24 hours. So once that 24 hours expires, that story is gone and it's no longer there. And this is where you can post more of your day-to-day things. Like we said, more real, authentic, raw kind of things. When you post a new story, what happens is you move to the front of your followers' storylines. So anytime they come into Instagram, you're at the front. So the thing that you have to be careful with, and if we're talking about not annoying your audience, is some people tend to overuse stories. So because every time they post a new one, they move to the front, people are posting there constantly. And if you're not careful with it, you can really annoy people. When you open up your stories and you're looking at someone, it'll show you based on like lines or dots across the top how many stories they have. And 9 times out of 10, unless you super, super love the person and all the content they put out, if they have too many dots, most of us will just swipe and bypass them and we don't even look at what they're putting out. So I recommend having really 5 to 7 active stories at any given time is a good amount. It's not going to overdo it. It's going to keep you in the check line up front for a lot of the time, but it's not going to annoy people. Now, when you're doing video to stories, let's talk about this because it's a little bit different. There's 3 different ways to do video in your stories. The first is live, obviously, and we've talked about that. That makes sense. Now, the other 2 ways are if you have a pre-recorded video or if you are recording in stories but not live. So that one, if you're recording in stories but not live, it will give you 15-second increments. So whatever you have to say, you need to get it in under 15 seconds and post it straight there. Otherwise, you're starting, stopping, starting, stopping. So if it's going to be longer than 15 seconds, you want to pre-record it on your phone and then upload it to stories. Once you do that, it's going to automatically break it down into those 15-second increments for you. If you are going to do that, I highly recommend what you do is once it's broken down, you want to put some sort of caption at the bottom of each 15-second slide, because most of us, when we're watching videos, do so on silent. And so if you have video and you don't let people know what the content is or tell them to turn the sound on or whatever, they're not going to, and they'll just swipe past you. So it'll break it down in those 15 seconds. You can do just a little caption giving them an idea of what's happening in the video or what you're saying in the video. And then if they are listening on silent, they're more likely to click all the way through each of those little slides. I hope that makes sense. Does anyone have questions on that part of stories with the video? Because I know it can be a little confusing. Let's see, Kim said, why would I want to use stories over just posting something? It seems like it mirrors Snapchat in the way it works. Is it saved on your Insta account somewhere? Okay, so the reason you'd want to use stories over just posting something is because typically it is a little bit more raw. People like to keep their feeds with that same consistent look that we talked about, and sometimes those videos can be, it takes more editing to get it to look right, those kinds of things. So if it doesn't fit in that flow, if it's a little more raw and authentic, you'd want to put it in stories. And also, it is a great way to stay top of mind without blocking up your feed. So it's just a little fun thing. People that are watching stories are super engaged, and it's a great place to have your content. So just anything that's a little bit more raw and authentic that you don't want to necessarily take the time to edit, that is a great way to use stories. It does mirror Snapchat a lot in the way it works, but you can save your stories. Once you've posted something to stories, it gives you the option of adding it as a highlight in your feed, where it's just right below your information, but above your post, there will be that ring of highlights that you can have and save those there. So that is where you can put them in. A great thing that you can do is just being able to, once you're highlighting, maybe categorize them. Like on my fitness one, I have different categories for different types of workouts that we offer, so people can come in and get little snapshots. But you could do something about like under contract or home sold or past clients, or something like that. Just have some different categories that you can do to keep those in as the highlights. So hope that answers those. Within stories, there are a lot of little fun options that you can do, little stickers, filters, those kinds of things. I recommend you use something out of that, the options that Instagram has, like once or twice a week, so that you are, like, Instagram likes it if you're using your tools. So just go ahead and pull something from there and use it, and it'll help boost some of your algorithms. And I'm sorry, it sounds like people are losing sound in and out. Not sure. Hopefully it's maybe, I don't know how to fix that. My apologies to that. Now, one other one that I do want to highlight is some of the questions. These are a great way that you can get engagement with your things. Taking polls, asking questions. those kinds of things are fantastic. So being able to say, like, I gave some examples here with the polls, giving people 2 positive options when you're asking that question is going to increase your engagement. People don't like to tell you no on something or give you something negative. So you want to make sure that you are asking something that people are going to want to respond either answer. So that way you'll get more engagement. People don't have to feel bad about telling you whether they like plain or sprinkles on their donuts. It doesn't matter to them, so they're going to respond. And then questions is kind of the same thing. You want to make sure that you're asking questions people want to respond to. Questions are fun because when people respond, you can post their answers and it gives you additional content to put up in your stories in your feed, which is great. Okay. Now let's talk about your bio on Instagram. This is where you kind of walk that line because you don't want to come off as being pushy, or if people see your account and they want to follow you, you want to make sure that you're dropping these in. Do people really care about polls, or are they annoyed? They can be fun, but if you overdo it, they can definitely be annoying. So yeah, to answer that question. So when you set up your bio, make sure that you are not over pushing real estate. You want to be very coy about it. So the one on the right that you see, this Mandy Stewart, you'll notice she does some personal things, right? So big fan of male coffee and mornings. And then, oh, by the way, I'm chief editor here. Oh, by the way, I'm a certified personal trainer. So put something in that's fun, that shows your personality. Oh, and by the way, I'm a real estate agent, right? So just kind of drop that in and sprinkle that there. So hopefully that makes sense. Just don't overdo it. Are we going to talk about good handles? Yeah, let's talk about good handles. So what a lot of people, Instagram is hard. You want to make sure your name is on there. Again, we want it to look personal. I am not a big fan of having your business name as your handle. I think people want to connect with a person. So I recommend having your name in as your handle, and then in your bio, you can put something about your real estate, if that makes sense. Does that answer that question, Amy? Hopefully. Just because, again, Instagram is really funny. Like, you've got to really walk that line of feeling like organic and personal connection. So you've got to make your Instagram feel more personal than business. And so that way people are going to follow you. And just put yourself in their shoes. Like, if you are going to look at someone's page and the whole thing screams real estate or something to that nature, you're not as likely to follow them, right? I've been struggling finding something creative and personal versus just Amy's Utah Realtor. So yeah, we can talk also about a little bit about branding, but if you guys want, one thing I'll just say here, if you want additional help, I can send out to Steve and Jennifer. I have a link that you can actually schedule just 30-minute consults with me where we can dive in and really help you figure out what your branding is and start that path. So what I'll do after, I'll make sure everybody gets that link, and then we can, if you want additional help there, I'm happy to do some 30-minute sessions with you guys. Is it okay to promote multiple businesses also, or just focus on one? That's hard because it depends on the businesses. So, and I hate to leave that open-ended for you, Donnelly, but maybe we can talk about that in a little branding session, you and I, because it really depends on what the businesses are and what you're doing. It kind of is a hard line to walk. So, okay, I think that answered all those questions. Cool. All right, let's kick on here. Okay, I am a huge fan of using your personal database for emails. Your email database to market to people, and make sure that you're asking people to connect with all of your platforms in your emails. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard. I guess you could show raise of hands, but how many of you regularly market to your database via email? Anybody? Anybody? Feel free to unmute here too. We can talk about this too. I think email is probably one of the most incorrectly used marketing tools that agents do. And I think most of us sit into some sort of drip campaign where we send out a monthly newsletter and it's usually like market stats or something completely boring, right? Like, can we be honest about that? Like, how many of you, that's what you do? Like, let's really talk about that. And I'm like, for real, like, let's unmute and have a discussion here because I think it's really it's important. I'm just waiting.
I can share something I used to do since I've changed my software. I haven't done it recently,
Okay.
but I used to do just a simple MailChimp newsletter, and I would film just a hello video message, a video of myself at the top of the newsletter, so they would just connect with me in person. And if it was spring, I might be by a tree, or I might spotlight a business or talk about an upcoming event. But I like just a small little bit of video and something for them to anticipate, look forward to what is coming up next, my next event or whatever.
Okay, I think that's great. Like, that is a great way to do email. I think most people miss the boat. And how many of you are on multiple people's email lists? And every single time, I mean, I obviously get a ton of realtor emails. 9 times out of 10, it's like market stats. And Victoria said in the thing, like, I've posted stats and you're right, very little response, right? Like, if you guys can really figure out how to hone in and do something that adds value through your email, and think about what you as a consumer open when your emails come through. What stuff do you automatically delete without even a second glance, and what stuff do you actually open? And really be very, very cautious and intentional about what your subject lines are. The subject line of your email is probably the most important part of an email because it's what prompts somebody to open that up and to engage with it, right? And if we can get somebody to open an email, we have an opportunity for 3 contact points for each consumer, because they'll see it when it comes into their inbox, they open it and read the content, and then third, hopefully they engage with it and respond in some way, right? Or then we can get that 3-point touch, which is fantastic. So think about how you can add value. And Jen, I love what you said where there was, I have no idea how those little lines just got across the presentation. Okay. So if you can think about how you can add value, this is probably one of the biggest things. So if you are, let's go back to that farming the area, right? Like, think about if you were to go out and interview some of those local restaurant owners and have discounts and talk about community events, and where you're really ingraining yourself into the community to where it's information that people want to open that email. That's where you're going to be successful in staying top of mind and adding value to people. Donnelly said, are there keywords that should not be used in the subject line? I don't know about not used, but just maybe even this next week, just look at the emails that you get and pay attention to what you open versus what you don't. Another thing, I'm going to make myself a note too. Actually, it's in this presentation. So I'll email you guys out the slides because at the very end here, I have, hang on, I'm just making myself some notes. There's a slide in here that talks about how to create compelling ad copy. So that'll help you compose your subject lines in the email. So we'll talk about that. I'm pretty sure everyone is scared of emails I would send because my SOI list is puny. No, don't worry about it. Even if you only have a few emails, it's a great way to stay in contact. The side benefit of highlighting business owners is then they love you. Yes, which is a great lead source and new networks, 100%. And Jen, I love that you showed that too, because even having the fact that you actually did that and you firsthand saw the benefits that that has is huge. So I, especially right now, guys, like being able to highlight and help small business owners in communities Like that makes you look good. It makes it look like you care, and it's a way for you to get out there without overdoing the real estate thing. So just as a little side note. So whatever you're doing, I highly recommend you get into starting to market to your email, get your database out there, and allow people to put connection links in there so they can connect with you on your other social media channels. So, okay. All right, so number one rule here is add value. So this is actually your keyword, your next keyword, add value. Okay, so make sure you write that down. Carmina had a thing, would people think we're not being sensitive to the spread of the virus by going out and interviewing community business? So I don't think that you necessarily need to be in person with people, right? Like you could get on and record like a dual camera via Zoom and just record you talking back and forth, you know, or maybe have them send a photo of themselves and you can do a little video saying, hey, I'm highlighting this business, this is what I'm doing, and this is how we can still support this business in the midst of COVID. Like all of those things are completely applicable. Do you recommend good software for two people to be on Facebook Live together, just Zoom? Can it be live? Let me look at, my husband does a lot of my tech stuff for me. So I'll ask him, let me just make that other note, Jen, so I'll get that back to you. I do a ton of stuff via Zoom, but I know my husband, when he does some of my tech stuff, has another software. So let me ask him. Okay. Oh, thanks, Jen. I will be teaching April 30th for Instagram for Business. Yes, I will. That is very true. So hopefully this has been beneficial for you guys too as we're going along. Okay. All right, so the biggest thing is that we want to keep our audience listening to us. So we need to focus on what our audience wants to hear, what adds value to them. Oh, it's actually Yvonne, not Jen. Thanks, Yvonne. Or thanks, Steve. So we want to focus on what they want to hear, and we need to be relevant to our audience. So I think a lot of the times we get into our heads and we think about what we want to post out there. And so we're missing the boat because it's not necessarily what our audience wants to hear. So making sure you're adding value and what they want has to be at the top of your mind. They do not want to be sold. So whatever you're putting out there needs to add value to them, okay? All right. Okay, I love these. Seriously, no one ever says, so you're telling me you went to an Herbalife sales meeting and now you're a nutritionist, dietitian, and fat loss expert? Sorry if anyone sells Herbalife, it's just to be funny. Tell me more about your newest riveting MLM scheme, said no person ever, right? Just making sure that we're not overposting and annoying the crap out of people and shoving everything down their throats. Nobody wants to be sold. We've got to be very intentional and coy about how we're putting it out there. So content is the biggest thing you've got to be aware of. Content is, you have to be so intentional in choosing your content and choosing it wisely. You need to be original. You want to make sure you're relatable and make sure that it ties back into your personal branding, and make sure that there's consistency there. Testimonials and reviews are a great thing for you to share. There's nobody better to tell your success stories, and people love to hear it. And I think we get in our heads like, oh, people are going to think I'm bragging. But when you see somebody else share a win on social media, do you think less of them? No. Every time we say that, no, I don't. Nobody's going to think that about you either. And if they do, they shouldn't be your friend, right? So nobody's going to toot your horn for you. You have to toot it yourself. Don't be afraid to share those. I think the stats are 88% of consumers trust an online review as much as a personal recommendation. So that is a great way for you to showcase, allow people to see who you are, what you stand for, what your customers are saying without it coming from your mouth. I also, another little side tidbit, I love that we mentioned in the branding class, but I love keeping a file of my customer reviews because it's great for me with marketing that I can pull from. Sometimes customers say things about us better than we could ever say ourselves, or they'll articulate something in a way that we would not have thought of. And so having those things on file is a great way for you to pull from when you're starting a marketing campaign that'll just give you some creative juices, or even just doing a daily post that'll maybe spark something in you that you can write about or talk about. And it's okay to share those, right? So just get in the habit of collecting those, have them on file, share them, talk about them. It's a great way to help you promote your business. I love these. Who said the real estate profession was stressful? I'm 48 and I feel great. And I noticed the for sale by owner sign in your yard. I too like to live dangerously, right? If you see fun things out there that you like, the repost app is a great way for you to reshare what people are posting and to give proper credit to people. It will allow you to reshare other posts on Instagram if the person's account you are sharing is a public account. If they are not public and you can't share it, maybe make your own graphic or something and tag them in it and thank them for their insights so that you give them credit for it. What is the app? It's called Repost app. It's just written on the bottom of the slide, but I will type it here. It's one, if you've ever seen, and I'll actually show you in a few slides what it looks like, how you can tell if somebody's used the Repost app. Okay. Pinterest is a great tool, mostly for visual trends, especially in real estate. If you can go to Pinterest and just look at what's trending, if you put in like bathroom remodel ideas, it's going to pull up some things for you and you can see what's popular, what's not, lighting, visual, like all of that stuff to give you some indications of what things you can be posting about and to be talking about. So I love to go to Pinterest just for ideas for content. And then you can also see what kind of things are getting in engagement. Oh, sorry, I sent that to, hang on. Okay. So yeah, use Pinterest to help you get ideas. Are we allowed to share pictures without copyright from Pinterest? I don't ever share pictures from Pinterest. Sometimes I do to Facebook because it allows you to share the link that takes you back to that post, but I don't ever copy paste those images for that reason of copyright. Sometimes I'll just look for visual cues, and if I can see something is trending, then I'll try to take similar pictures when I'm out and about, maybe at an open house or something like that. So that's also, Olivia, I hope that answers your question there. But yeah, I don't directly share from Pinterest unless I can go to Facebook where I can attach the link so that I don't get in trouble there. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so contests and surveys are another great thing that you can do on Instagram. I love these on Instagram. You can do so many things that you cannot do on Facebook, which is crazy because they're owned by obviously Facebook owns both, but the rules are completely different. So contests and surveys are great on Instagram. And again, this is going to come into when you're partnering with somebody. Do something that can be a win-win for both of you. You can have people tag people, you can have people send photos in, like there's so many different things you can do. Comments where you're probing people to participate versus a lot of that stuff is not allowed on Facebook. So Instagram is a great place to run contests. These are the Facebook contest rules. So just and you'll get this slide when we send this stuff out so that you can have it and, just check back because they do tend to change. But it definitely is easier to run contests on Instagram. So make sure that that you follow those rules. So this is the photo where you can see that it's been reposted. You'll see on the bottom of that little veggie bowl, there's the 2 arrows, and then it has a photo and My Nova Vita. That is your indication that it has been reposted. So on the right-hand side, you'll see in the content, it says, you'll see it says like, you know, summer, blah, 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 my fave. And then it has the hashtag repost, and then it tags at My Nova Vita, and then everything below there was what My Nova Vita originally posted. So that is her content. So I can add my 2 cents about it, but then it gives all the credit. So it actually tags her that I shared her photo. But again, that's only if the account that I'm sharing is public. If it's not public, it won't let you do it. So repost app is what you need to do. It's kind of a little bit tricky to use, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. When you're looking at someone's post, there's the 3 little dots in the top right corner. If you click that, it says copy link, and then you open the repost app and paste it in, and then it goes through the process of letting you share it back to Instagram. So it's a little bit cumbersome, but it's the best of those apps that does that, and that's the way to do that and give somebody credit. So make sure that you are doing that. Any questions there? No, I'm just checking the chat here really fast. Okay. All right, so another thing you can do if you are stumped for content is content curation. So this kind of falls in line a little bit with the repost app. The idea is that you're taking someone else's content and sharing it on your page. This is absolutely 100% free to do. Like you're able to do this as long as you're giving credit to the original poster. And there's not really like any rhyme or reason to it. It's just about, as far as how much of that to do, just find what works for you. So like I gave a couple of ratios here, like there's one that's like thirds, right? Or there's even like 6 parts curated. Whatever it is, I just recommend like find the article you're trying to cite, give your 2 cents about it. So put your opinion in there and cite the original article. That's going to help you with content ideas without you having to come up with all of these things on your own. Let's see, are hashtags still active again? I'm not sure what that means, Jen, I'm sorry. Okay, so the other thing I would say is, as far as content, a little tip. What I recommend stocking up your content. So a lot of the struggle I find realtors have is finding the time to take photos and to do, I'm sorry, Jen. So she said, let me backtrack to this question. Are the hashtags still active again from the repost? 100%, yes. So whatever hashtags they put on there, activate on your post. Okay, so back to that little tip. A lot of realtors struggle with time to get out and get photos and those kinds of things. I recommend to help you with your content, go out like Saturdays, Sundays, Fridays, all of those days that have lots of open houses are fantastic days for you to build up content. What I recommend doing is take like 5 or 6 different shirts with you and go to different open houses or model homes and have different photos taken in different rooms of the house in different shirts. So what that's going to do is give you a bunch of photos you can use that'll allow you to drip them out year long, if that makes sense, or not even year long. I can't get away with that very much because my hair changes so often, but if your hair is pretty much the same all the time, then like my stuff has like a 6-month shelf life, but yours might be a little bit better, but you can drip them out. So an example of that, I have a friend of mine that is a photographer that when she was first starting her photography business, she was a school teacher and she wanted to be a destination wedding photographer. So she went and took her summer where she had, 2 months off, and she went for 3 or 4 weeks to Europe and just traveled to different cities and hired models in each of the different cities to stage fake weddings. And she did wedding photos in all of these different places around Europe. And then when she got back, she started dripping out these photos periodically, and so that it gave the appearance that she was out traveling the world all the time. And that's how she built her destination wedding business. So same kind of concept, just take a bunch of different shirts, make it look like you're different that day. Like maybe for women, you can change your lipstick color or whatever, and take different photos and just hang on to them. And then that gives you things you can drip out so that when you're struggling with what content to put out there, you have something to fall back on to use. So hopefully that helps. We'll move on. Quotes and graphics are great, but don't do too many of them, because again, like we said, you've got to have a lot of photos out there. Photos do better than quotes, but this is still a great way to go. If you were quoting someone, find their Instagram handle and tag them on them, like Brene Brown in this one, I could tag her. Just get people, the more people you involve in your post, the more that it helps boost your algorithms. Canva is the program that I love for creating graphics. I live in Canva. I also really love Bazaart, but I believe Bazaart is only available on iPhones. I could be wrong on that. But I do love both of those. And I actually do the paid version of Canva because I use it so much. And it's not that expensive. It's like $12 a month or something. It's not terrible, but I love Canva. So it's much easier to use than Photoshop. If you don't have Canva, that's another one that I highly recommend. Okay, any questions there? We're almost done. Did I give you guys 4 keywords yet, or just 3? Do we have all 4? Yes. Okay, cool. So this is the slide that talks about compelling ad copy. So this is where you can use it if you're linking to an article, if you want to have somebody open it up to something more, or for your emails. So, and yes, Donnelly, I will send you slides, so don't worry about that. So emails are also, this is where you'd want to come into play. So there's 3 different little formulas here on the left side that will help you build compelling ad copy. So this is, oh, everybody missed number 4. Add value. Thank you, Jen. So this is just a little formula. So how to blank that will help you blank, right? Or blank number of ways to do blank to produce your desired result. Or what is the best blank that will help you blank, right? So just a little template that you can do and use these in your emails that'll help with your open rates, or even when you're doing posts, if you need to link through to a blog post or something like that. This little template is helpful when you're trying to come up with what that will be to help people open up your posts. So, okay, I think we just have one more slide and we're good. Okay, so here's a couple of little bonus tips. Again, making sure you're delivering consistent quality content. Consistent is a big one. Being regular is huge. And then making sure that every post contains intelligent and pertinent information, especially if you're doing it on your website, if you're doing a blog post with it, using it for branding purposes, and then making sure you're posting during the times that are best for your audience. Instagram we'll go over in the next class, and I'll show you how to find that information that is particular to your audience. I'm a big fan of reviewing your past content and seeing what works and what doesn't, so that you can improve future posts and do your research, and making sure that you increase your post word count, right? The more we can add story and the more that we can involve our audience, the more interaction we're going to get. So normally, short and sweet are the rules to live by, but if you're trying to put out information and add value and it's too short or too quick, people don't get enough information from you, they're going to move on. So give them a little read. So Donnelly had asked, what is an easy way to review your content results in Facebook? Facebook's a little bit harder to do that than Instagram, but it's really just a matter of going back to your posts and seeing how many comments, likes, or shares you got on each one. And that's really your only engagement rate. Instagram makes it a little bit easier to break that down without outside analytics tools, which is great. Anyway, so that should give you all the information. You guys have been amazing. We finished a little bit over, so I apologize on that. But if you guys can give me just a minute to hang on, I need to take a screenshot of our participation list here so that I can make sure that we have that finalized for CE stuff. So give me just a minute, and I really appreciate that. Okay, you guys have been awesome. Feel free to throw any questions you have still in the chat, and I'll see if I can answer a few other questions as soon as I get these screenshots here.
Thank you, Chantel. You did great.
You're welcome. Okay. A couple more. I hope this has been helpful. Hang on, I'll get to those chats. I see them. I just got to get these dumb screenshots. Sorry about that.
Hey everybody, watch Friday, 9 o'clock from 9 to 10. We post all the classes for the upcoming week. You won't want to miss it. Non-Presidio agents that are on, we are loving that you're here today. And watch for MailChimp. It will be sent out the 2nd and 4th Mondays of every month. Thanks, Chantel. It was amazing.
You're welcome. The other thing too, make sure that you guys did get that Google Doc filled out, that you got the link for it, so that Google form, so that I get that's the roster. So make sure that we've got that. What's that?
You have to submit that roster too at the bottom page.
Yeah, you do have to submit that form for me to get in the roster. So that's how I get all of your information. Okay, I think I've got one more screenshot here. Sorry, it's a little bit longer on this one. You guys are so patient. Awesome. Last screenshot, and then I'll catch those last questions. Okay, let me get into this chat. I can't click on the Google link. Oh, you have to copy it, like you'll have to highlight it and paste it into the browser. Let me put the link here. I'm gonna stop my screen share. And I'll get you that link one more time, and I'll post it in at the bottom. See if this will work. No, it's not pasting. Hold on. I'm shortening the URL, so this might be a little bit different from the one that posted earlier, but it'll take you the same place. But okay, so that is the link to the form. You'll have to highlight it and paste it into the browser, and we'll get that taken care of. Okay, what was number 3? I can't find it quickly in my notes. I think number 3 was the hashtagger. If somebody else has the notes, that would be great. Cool. And hashtagger, cool. Okay. Any other questions? You guys have been amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And then anybody that's got notes or anything or questions, again, I'll be sending out that link where you can book time with me if you want to go into that branding, and I'll make sure you guys get the slides and the content calendar. My contact info, yes, I'm sorry it was on that last slide, but I will put it here, is my email address, chantel@itstitle.com. My phone number here. If you call me, leave me a voicemail, or send me a text because I don't answer phones that I don't know the number. But there is my email and phone number. And we should be good. Okay. You guys are awesome, and you can feel free to scooch out of here, and I will see you guys in a couple weeks for the Instagram class. I hope this has been helpful.